Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. I'm Peter Alexievich, and today I'd like to introduce you to 7 books that I read in transit to Ukraine and before coming to Ukraine, and that I think are of value to anybody interested in what's happening here and anybody that's interested in history and how to avoid repeating it. Now, I'm going to start with the one that is accessible to everybody, right? The Accidental Czar. This is the story of the life and lives of Vladimir Putin. And unlike the other books we're going to look at, this book is a graphic novel. So if you're not the kind of person that can read 900 pages of Russian history, I want to assure you that The Accidental Czar will keep your attention and it will inform you of how we got to where we are and who this guy is in the Kremlin and why we should be so concerned about him and see him for what he really is: an enemy of the United States, an enemy of the West, an enemy of his own people. There's just no two ways about it. Now, for anybody coming to Ukraine, there is the Essential Guide to Customs and Culture. This was actually given to me before I left by my good buddy Coach. Coach, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And this will come in awfully handy because things are different here. This is a different world from what we're used to in the United States. It's a different culture, it's a different set of values, it's a different language, it's a different alphabet. One of the best things you could do for yourself if you're thinking of coming to Ukraine is learn the alphabet first. That was a mistake I made, and I was functionally illiterate for 8 weeks when I got here. No good, no good at all. I want to recommend this book, The War That Changed Us. Now, if you're not a history person, if you're not going to read 900 pages of history, if you're not interested in military tactics and all of that, the young woman that wrote this book, it's a series of short stories, novellas, and essays in English. And it's a great little slice of Ukrainian life before and after the war and the challenges, the fears, the loss that has taken place here. So this is a great little book that's very accessible to anybody. Now, the books that they're history books, right? And it's hard to read history. So the first one is less a history book and more a geopolitical and military book, which may have broader based appeal, called Future War. And one of the authors of this book is General Ben Hodges, who was the former commander of U.S. troops in Europe, serious guy, and who is all over YouTube talking about this war. He is a great supporter of Ukraine. Um, I cannot recommend listening to him enough for Americans, especially because General Hodges has dedicated his life to American readiness and execution in the field. And when he talks, we should listen, in my opinion. And his book, Future War, it's it it's not written great. I'll tell you honestly, it's not written great, but it is for somebody like me who doesn't have a military background and is not familiar with the military capabilities and readiness in Europe and what the real security concerns here are. This book is an eye opener. And so I highly recommend that. Now, there's 3 then really genuine history books that I want to recommend. Borderlands by Anna Reed. Brilliant. And now this book was written uh, before the war. I think the first part was written in 2012, before Crimea, and then the second part was written after that. So she updated it in light of the geopolitical situation here. And the walk through the history of Ukraine is magnificent. the personalities, the flavor of the people of the times, the influences here. This is a tremendous work of historical fact, and kudos to Miss Reed. And then uh, we've got Sergei Plotky, Gates of Europe, History of Ukraine, another good one. And then I don't have it anymore, but Timothy, because I gave it to a Ukrainian friend of mine, and I hope she's reading it. I think she is. But again, it's like these last ones. It's called Bloodlands, and that's by Dr. Timothy Snyder from Yale University. And that's another great look at the history of Ukraine. Very insightful. We in the West tend to have a two-dimensional view of other people's history, or maybe just everybody everywhere does, right? You have your own mythology about your own culture, and then you have these snippets of history from the rest of the world. It doesn't do it justice. What we learn in school barely scratches the surface of the complex realities of human migration. And these books can help us understand just how complex the situation here is and the deep, deep historical significance of this confrontation. So, ladies and gentlemen, and other non binary folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I sure do appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy your reading. Take care.